welcome to My Dog Will Eat My Face, episode 3012, or something like that. Sorry this week's podcast is a bit late, as I've been actually under the weather for probably the last week. Nothing serious, just a damn cold that would just make my nose run nonstop, and so I'd have to be blowing my nose constantly, and my nostrils all inflamed, of course, and give me a cough and sore throat. It dripped down there. It was just awful. So, as of right now, I'm significantly better, but it also comes with the help of our dear friend Sudafed. Sudafed, not just for making meth, it can actually help a runny nose. And so that's what I used, and it seems to be working. The pseudoephedrine, that is, not the meth. I haven't done meth in quite some time, so no worries about that. And today, I kind of wanted to talk about how I've somewhat rebounded, I guess, from my lull, as I'm sure you detected in my last podcast, of feelings of negativity. I don't know what else to call it. Defeat, sort of. So I lost in my head so much, but you can't really ever lose that. All those things that were good did happen. And I'm happy about that. I truly am happy about that. And that can never be taken away. But I had a struggle to come up with a plan, or maybe not a plan, but a self-reflection that I'll share here today. And actually, this emerged out of a therapy session with a counselor, with my hospice team. Not my primary counselor, who I loved and adored and had the best therapy I've ever had in my life with. She unfortunately up and quit. So, I'm currently seeing every other week this counselor. Of course, I'm very leery when it's a new person, but within the context of the first meet and greet, if you want to call it that, I sort of flashed back to certain things that I have mentioned before and lost sight of, which is easy to do in this society. And I would like to just share that here today, and maybe some of you are in a place to where you feel great negativity, and it might be worthwhile to find a place where you can have some gratitude and still enjoy life, despite whatever ailment you may have, or no ailment for that matter. So, that's what I'm going to talk about today. before I go much further, I do want to apologize to my fans if the sound quality is rather lousy and that it's quite low. I think my device is slowly dying a terrible death. It's picking up audio not very well. It's not playing audio very well. And everything's maxed out, so I don't understand what the dealio is with it. My guess is, like I said, it's dying. So that means I'll have to be in the market for a new recording microphone and device. So, won't that be fun? Anyway, so if it's low and you can barely hear me, I am so sorry. Try to turn up your volume. I'm trying to make it as loud as I can. And for someone like me, that's kind of hard. But I am aware of the issue, and I'm super sorry. I just wanted to relay that. Anyway, to take stock in what you have is something that therapists and doctors repeat. I don't even want to say repeat. They parrot it to one another and to patients like it's going out of style. So I definitely don't want to sound like one of them. But when I sat down with this counselor today, I had told her about my best, best therapy session that I've ever had with someone else. And it was in that session where we talked about what I call, and please don't get offended by this, I don't mean this as a compliment to the individual named here, by no means, but I call this problem of mine my little Hitler. And I use that because it's a part of me deeply ingrained in my personality, truthfully. That is saying more, 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 more. That's not enough. More, more, more. And that was great when I was healthy. I would actually achieve quite a bit. Since I had this internal drive to really fight off the circumstances that had been assigned to me, to be totally honest with you. So, I lost my train of thought. That happens when your brain's dying. I apologize. What was I talking about? Oh, yes, gratitude. I'm sorry, gratitude. In this therapy session, I remembered some of my podcasts prior in which I said such bold statements as loss is an illusion, and I'm reminded of the Stoic philosophy, which has one of the central tenets of everything you do, everything you say will last forever. Nothing can be undone. Nothing can change the fact that you did whatever you did, or you said whatever you said. You might take further actions if you either wanted to duplicate success from the first or to downplay the first because someone found it offensive or something. But those are just additional actions that they are not going to remove what you said. And so that means you better be pretty darn comfortable with what you do and with what you say. Maybe cut down on the road rage. Honk at some guy, flip him off, and scream obscenities at him, and then think to yourself, ah, nuts. That's going to last for eternity. You don't want that. You don't want that. But what you do want is to think about relationships and good things in that way. For example, and Seneca was the first to say this. He was a Roman senator and a Stoic philosopher, somewhat. He said, when a friend dies, does your friendship die with them? Now think about that. I think the answer is absolutely not. Like if I go to my good buddies, I'm going to give them a name. This is no one I know, so don't bother trying to figure out who this is. I'm making this all up. But let's just say I have a friend named Bob. And Bob died in a gnarly accident when he was found covered in Crisco oil and smashed by a moving train and thrown into a hardware store, landing right on their deluxe chainsaw that's been on sale for like 5 weeks. Let's say that happens to Bob, and Bob's no longer with us, but you were a good friend of Bob's. So yes, Bob was taken away from this world. That's indisputable. But does your friendship with Bob go away? Perhaps all the things you did together, perhaps things he said to you were meaningful and stuck to you. Maybe he helped you when your marriage was kind of on the fritz. Maybe he helped you get over a drug addiction. I don't know. Or maybe he just was a good companion, didn't have to do anything serious. He was just a really good companion to talk to play games with, and to chill with. Doesn't take much. You just enjoyed Bob's company. Could be that. But whatever it is, do any of those things go away instantly when Bob dies? No. I mean, sure, you're not continuing to get that support or those good feelings from Bob, at least new feelings and new things from Bob, but you're going to carry those good experiences and probably a lot of Bob's advice and memories with you until you're long and gone. And maybe Bob had kids and they're going to do the same. Point is, everything we do lasts forever. Because it even gets deeper than that. Let's say nobody on earth remembers Bob. Maybe he's just a broken tombstone that's dilapidated and is long gone. Nobody alive remembers Bob. Doesn't matter. Nothing can change the fact that he was here and he did what he did to those people, to himself, to whomever or whatever. That he said what he said doesn't matter. Everything lasts forever. And it doesn't need a dramatic occurrence to last forever. Certainly helps. I wouldn't turn it down. But it's not necessary. The fact is that your friendship with Bob was something that can never be taken away. So, no, it did not end. The friendship with Bob. It did not end when Bob departed his mortal coil. So, that's been one of the central tenets of Stoic philosophy. That's what Seneca was getting to. And I, a lot of times, really have to push myself to remember that. Because we don't live in a society that that thinks that way. Generally, we live in a society where victimhood is now a good thing. I don't want to say now is a good thing. I think we live in a society that victimhood has always been a good thing. Not always, God. To be blunt, I think since the rise of Christianity, suffering has been a good thing. In our world. And that's the way we think of it. We think, oh, you poor thing, I'm so sorry for your loss. Well, I could say, what loss? Well, Bob died. Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry for your loss. I didn't lose anything. Bob certainly did. But I didn't lose anything. It's not like I just disowned him when he died and forgot everything about him. And even if I did, it doesn't matter. Because you were good friends with Bob. And that will last forever. Anyway, that's one of my central beliefs. And that's when I realized it doesn't take that much for me to make sure I'm saying or doing good things, which is essentially what my little Hitler was demanding. And I know I kind of started out talking about him, but let me really go into some further detail about my little Hitler here in the next segment and how this all kind of ties together. Patience is a virtue, so they say. So, little Hitler. I probably should have named it better. But once you understand it, you'll see why I call it that. For all my life, I felt a conscious and subconscious drive to really live my life as well as I can and to accelerate at the things I do. I was very much a perfectionist and an insufferable overachiever. Because that is what my inner voice was telling me. It was basically go, 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 go. And with each little victory, that's what made little Hitler happy. But if I failed and I didn't, or if I didn't do anything, he would, this little subconscious voice would berate me. You know, you are worthless, you're not worth the clothes on your back at all. Why don't you just shoot yourself? Why, you know, just terrible thoughts about me. And being as I am in hospice care, it seems rather damn hard to achieve anything at this particular juncture. But little Hitler doesn't care. He doesn't want excuses. So he just berates me, and it goes into my subconscious and sometimes my conscious, where I think I am just a total loser. And then, yeah, that can trigger depression and anxiety and other things. It's a terrible feeling. So, I had, and this is going back to the best therapy session of my life, going back years and years, well, not years and years, 2 years ago maybe, if that, maybe a year, I don't know, whatever. I had to decide how to shut this foaming madman up. I needed an allied army to come in and crush him so he would shut up. But that never happened. And I came to just the blunt conclusion, listen, this is a part of my character. It's a character flaw that I've always had. And I don't see how investing several years in CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Yeah, when I first heard CBT, I thought it meant something completely different. And there might be one or two listeners that get that. I'm not going to say what I thought it meant because my podcast will be banned. Anyway, I wasn't going to invest all those years in behavioral therapy to maybe or maybe not succeed in removing the little madman from my subconscious. So, with that being said, I decided the best way to get him to shut up is to have small and manageable accomplishments. And hopefully they would satisfy him and shut him up. So that's kind of the direction I decided to take. And yeah, I still had to do things. I still had, moreover than do, I had to achieve things. That's key. So that means I can't just be doing something. I had to be doing something that I can fail at. And that is a hard thing to find when you're in a hospice, I guess. But it hit me going forward to today. My therapy session was today with this new counselor, my one and only time I've met her. But today then I got to think about once again what little accomplishments I may have had. And one of them is, it will sound silly, but I learned to cook. You see, all my life I was adamant, I don't cook, and I mean anything. I never boiled noodles, the fridge was a place to hold leftovers as far as I was concerned. I was just a loser. And I've learned how to cook for myself. And sometimes elaborate meals with like lobster tail, steak, shrimp, with herb butter sauce. It's so good. Or just a simple, I need calories meal like I had tonight, where I just massaged some spice rub into a couple of pork chops and pan-seared them up until they were just done, and roasted some green beans, and that was it. Green beans and pork chops. And you'll notice no carbs. I'm not like on some weird no-carb diet. I just don't like it. I generally don't like bread and potatoes. I really don't like potatoes. 90% of the time. I won't say 100, but like 90% of the time I don't like potatoes. So, yeah. But anyway, in the time in the hospice, I learned to cook. And oh boy, I count that as an accomplishment because you bet that could be a failure. I've had many failures. One time I had a very nice, beautiful dish. I can't remember what it was, but it was all done, ready to eat. It was like a pasta, and it just looked great, and all I had to do was just touch it up with some salt and pepper, just a teeny bit of salt, and then I go for the pepper, and I opened up the wrong side of the pepper, and whoosh, all this pepper dumped onto my pasta. And I tried to get it out and eat around it, and I just couldn't. No matter what I did, it just utterly ruined the meal. I had to throw it all out after like an hour and a half of work on this really good meal. I had to throw it all out. That's just one of many examples. So, to be able to cook successfully, that's an achievement. I count that as one. Possibly even doing this podcast would be another one. I certainly never did it before hospice. It was just an idea I had, and it grew from there. Just recently, relatively. And, maybe a third challenge that can go wrong is raising a new dog. I adopted a new pooch because my old pooch, who was my best friend for most of my adult life, died on the week of Thanksgiving. Oh, it was unbearable. And I was just crying and crying. Yeah. That was bad. But a few months later, I decided it was time to adopt again. And so I did. And so I have now a new little guy who's my companion. And he is incredibly cute, loyal, strong, thoughtful, scary intelligence. I literally sometimes get scared by my dog's intelligence. It seems like he knows everything I'm saying. It's just amazing. It's like nothing gets past him. I don't know. Sometimes he's so smart it scares me. That's all. And anyway, I say that's an achievement because Lord knows people all the time fail at raising their dogs or their animal. Ask the Humane Society about that. It's heartbreaking. So it's not much to what I was used to. But I did do all those wonderful things when I was working. And I don't know why. I had a business trip to Washington, D.C., and for some reason I thought it's going to be my last trip. So I knew my boss had it out for me, and my health was failing. And so I saw it was the Dreamliner jet by Boeing, and I've never been in one. At the time, I hadn't been in one yet. So I upgraded to first class to get first class in the new Dreamliner. It was amazing. That was definitely a thing off my bucket list. And it was a long flight, too. It was across the country, so I loved it, yeah. But anyway, doing those little achievements like that have actually, I can tell, made little Hitler shut up. Allied army is still welcome to come in and kill them, but I just don't think I got the time to get that organized. You know, that cognitive behavioral therapy is what it would take, and that's a decade commitment, maybe a lifetime commitment. So I probably wouldn't see any results. So, yeah, taking those basic little steps and achieving those little things has been enough. To shut my foaming at the mouth madman right up. And I'm very thankful for that. So, long story short, as I kind of reassessed where I was and what I've been doing since I've entered hospice, I felt incredibly better, actually. And that I really think I started to fall off my own track, which is important for me to not do. And that is, I was really playing the victim. And I don't look right when I'm playing the victim. So when I managed to recall everything that I had said and, well, not wrote, but certainly said in those lectures, I was able to really reanalyze my overall gratitude with things. And that's what's important. And that's something you have to do quite often, I believe, to keep your head above water. Because, man, I tell you, I was sinking pretty bad. But I've got to keep my head above water. So, that's all there is to that. But I don't know how to arrange that. I guess maybe once a week I'll go through my list and just to remind myself of what I've achieved. And I apologize there for that extended silence. I was thinking to myself. That doesn't make for good podcasting, believe it or not. Thinking to yourself and being pensive does not really pay off in a podcast. It's a habit of mine when I'm thinking, and I've got to remember to kind of keep things going as much as I can in the podcast, even though I might be pondering something rather important, say. But be that as it may, it's what I have to do. And I think I have to write a reminder somewhere, at least once a week, of the things I have gratitude for, of my small accomplishments. Well, you remember that I had said my device is slowly dying? There's a good example for you. It suddenly cut out in the middle of a thought and sentence I was having. I apologize, but it's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's the hardware. It's dying a slow death. I don't have the money to replace it right now. So unfortunately, that's the best I can do. And I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Anyway, all I was trying to say was I needed to make an effort to remind myself of those achievements I've made post or during, I should say, hospice. I probably won't be doing much post-hospice. It would be surprising if I'm doing a lot post-hospice. But, yeah, so, I mean, I struggle with it, and that's, I'm sure, very common with other people. It's so hard to think about things in that way. It doesn't even have to be like you're a stoic. I'm not saying that that's a necessity. It's something that has warmed me tremendously through this flight. And I'm certain all of you, or at least most of you, the vast majority of you, have something else for them. again, my mic goes out on me this time, and it seems that my device is in the throes of collapse because it just completely snuffed the end of the last segment, I should say. I am so sorry. I guess my next stop is the electronics store or music store or something. Anyway, but honestly, I think I said it all. I really did, I think, say all that needs to be said. And that's just, think of the things you have. When things get rough, especially, remind yourself how much you've overcome, whatever that means to you. Not to me, not to Bob, not to Sally, anyone, but you. And I think having something to keep you going, just a little something, will I believe make things a lot easier. But with all that being said, and before my machine here decides to do something catastrophic to me, I am going to close out this week's podcast for hope of a better one next week where the sound is not cutting in and out and the audio pieces are not so crummy. Golly, that was really, really lousy. So I apologize, and I do need to get new equipment somehow. So I will try to do that. But despite all the mishaps, I hope I shared what I've gone through effectively. And it's not been overshadowed by the couple audio mishaps. It's definitely been increasingly rough, physically and mentally. And there's nothing I can do about that. But I certainly could schedule time to go over those things that I count as little achievements or what I'm grateful for. Probably once a week. Maybe do that every Friday, I think, is what I'm going to do. Because I can't lose sight of those good qualities. That would be a true disservice to myself and others. It would be incredibly selfish to isolate myself. And for any of you out there that are looking to isolate yourself from others, I get it, I hear you, but you're doing them, I guess, a favor in that you're doing their dirty work for them. So, no running and hiding. No running and hiding, please. And pause and be grateful that not only you had what you had in life, and that will never be taken away from you. And I don't know. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably not starving in the street. So, be thankful for that. That's a much worse fate. And, yeah, I think, my time is done here. So, I hope to see you next week. And if you've made it this far, wow, you're a trooper. You are a trooper. And thank you so much for listening. I do mean that from the bottom of my heart. The greatest gift that can be given to me is what you are giving to me now. Allowing me to reach the world with my voice. And to say parts of the process, frankly, a lot of people don't know about. But you'll have to wait. And all I can say for now is auf Wiedersehen.